Hey, it's Marthea Pitts, the MSW coach, and I am back for another episode of my podcast. So let's get into it. I want to talk about, and I was gonna make this into like a whole post for Instagram, but then it's like I need to be doing some other stuff. So I was like, I'm just gonna record and release it out to y'all. Um, hmm, I'm trying to think where I want to start. Okay. Oh gosh. Oh my goodness. Okay. So I want to talk about I want to talk about the fact that not every job is created the same, right? And I want to start with a story time. I know someone who was extremely close to me, who worked a job, still does. They still work a job where they make less than $19,000 a year. So based on my calculations, when I wrote up this whole thing that I was going to post on Instagram, I'm going to post it a different way, but that roughly equates to, let me see where I made my notes. And I know you math wizards, you probably already have it already calculated in your brain. But that roughly equates to before taxes and benefits and health insurance and all of the things. That equates to them being paid $731 every 2 weeks, bi-weekly, right? And let's assume they get 26 paychecks in a year. They have 26 pay periods, right? I want you to stop and pause for just a moment, right? And I know y'all will do it because y'all social workers, you care about other people. So think about what you would be able to do physically as far as your bills, your living expenses, making $731 every 2 weeks. And that is before taxes, health insurance. So you probably need to chop that down to like $550 because this person is a single person, right? I then want you to add into that scenario that the job where they make that money is a very labor intensive job, right? One thing I want everyone to understand is that not every job is created the same. I know many people live in their like fantasy world bubbles where they think because their life is XYZ, that everyone else's life is the same. That is not true. Okay. So they're making 731 before taxes. Let's chop that down to like $600 every 2 weeks, right? If on a month where you only get paid twice a month, that is $1,200 in hand, right? Then add on to that the job is a very low quality, right? When I get on here talking about this stuff, this ain't nothing I'm making up. These are real scenarios, right? And one of the biggest problems that I'm having as of late, and it ain't a problem, it's just something that I've noticed, is that people try to speak on things that they really don't know nothing about. Like, and all I ask is that whatever your respective lane of expertise is, stay in that lane, right? Talking from your own personal experiences causes the streets to be flooded with misinformation, right? So I'll give y'all a real example. I don't get on here talking about clinical therapy things. Why? Because that is not my area of expertise. I have not studied the thing. I have not taken a course, I don't have a credential after my name. I leave that to the experts. I call in the experts when it's time to talk about the thing, right? I am very clear about doing that. However, what I noticed to be the trend, it ain't just with social workers, right? It's just the nature of the world. Everybody wants to be the like all knowing of everything, and it's impossible. And when you are trying to be the all knowing of everything and speak on things that you don't know about, right? You may know about it from your own personal perspective. You are causing more people harm, more people bad than good, right? And that's the whole danger of like the influencers, and not just influencers. I ain't pointing my finger at influencers, but that's just the danger of like people having these platforms. What we don't realize is that people are watching you and taking in what you give them as law, right? I saw it before getting on the internet. I see it now, right? That's why when you have a platform, be it if you have 50 people or 500,000 people or 5 million people, it is best to just talk about your thing. Don't talk about other stuff that you don't know about. Because there are people out there, which is why they are coming to you, which is why they listen to you. They view you as a trusted source of information. And unfortunately, they don't have all of the information they need to really make sound decisions around, okay, oh, this person is, forget qualifications. I ain't even talking about credentials, I'm not talking about degrees, I'm not talking about none of that. What I'm talking about is like qualifications as far as, oh, okay, this person has a depth of understanding and knowledge about how this problem is actualized in people's lives other than them. Or let's put it in real world terms. Their situation is very much like my situation. People don't have that information to make that determination, right? So they're taking the information you give them as law, even though if we dig behind the scenes, there are a bunch of different dynamics at play, right? I always talk about in social work how when people are talking about macro jobs, they tell y'all to network. Okay, networking worked for you, but how does networking work for someone who lives in a rural town? How does networking work for someone who does not have a network? How does networking look like for someone who has very low social capital, right? It looks different. So if you're giving out the blanket advice or the blanket tip to do X, Y, Z, you are not taking into account the full person. However, the person the person that's getting this information for you doesn't realize that, right? They don't know that. They think you know what you're talking about. And so then you are doing more harm than good to them because they are out in the world trying to take the information you gave them and applying it to their life, and it ain't working. It ain't working. So then what happens over time is they internalize that as something is inherently wrong with them. When no, the reality was you took some information that wasn't suitable for you. And on top of that, the person that gave it to you did not give you any instructions on how to make it applicable to you, right? Because as we know, everyone's life is different. Everybody's life set up different. Everybody's life does not look the same. Everybody does not have the same access to everything, right? That's where I am very different in my coaching, where I'm like, what's going on in your life? Right? I can give you strategies and techniques, but I want to make certain that what I'm giving you applies to you. What do you currently have access to do? What do you currently have the capacity to do? What do you want to do? Right? The problem is many of y'all are taking this one size fits all universal information and applying it to your life and can't figure out why the stuff ain't working because it was never meant for you. right? That's why I always tell y'all, and I tell my coaching clients, I want you to be brutally honest about what can you do based on the way your life is set up, based on the supports that you have readily available to you. Because if I'm coming in saying, okay, you need to be hitting apply on three jobs a week, but you don't have internet at home and you have to go to the public library to get on their computer to use it, that ain't gonna work. Especially if you're working 2, 3 jobs, that's not gonna work. How you gonna get there 3 times a week? When are you gonna find the hours to get there? Right? So then the plan has to be changed. It has to be tailored to meet the requirements of how your life is set up. Because if not, if you go into it like, okay, I need to apply to 3 jobs a week. However, I gotta get on 5 subway trains. I have to I've never been on the subway a day in my life, but I'm making up some stuff because a large amount of my people that I serve live in New York City and California. So we sticking with New York today. And you got to get on 5 trains and make 6 trains transfers to get to the local library to have stable internet or access a computer, in addition to working your job where you're there 8 to 9 every day. Right? That's not gonna work. When are you gonna have time to go to the library if the library closed at 8? So then we need to tailor that plan to meet your life, right? Why? Because the goal is for you to have as much success as possible. Okay, so I went on a tangent, but I really want y'all to understand the importance of y'all got to stop taking this generic information and trying to make it fit into your life when you know, because you know better than anyone else knows that your life is set up completely different. Completely different. And I'm going to give you a real world example, right? That's not tied to a job. And I know many of you will be able to understand this. I was telling my therapist last week, what's that last week? Last week. I said, married people love to tell single people, because I'm a single person, love to tell single people, oh, you should just be happy being single. Like if you're telling them, I really want to be in a relationship. Like I've done my healing. I've worked on myself. I've done my work. And it's like, I really want to be in a relationship. A married person is the first person in the room to tell you, oh no, you shouldn't want to be with anyone. You should be single. Oh, you should be happy alone with yourself. If you are not happy with being by yourself, that means you don't love yourself. Right. So I told my therapist that, and he was like, yeah, that's not. He was like, really? I say, yes, it's overabundant. Like there's an overabundance of that narrative being kicked around by married people. And ultimately what I found is that it is coming from married people who are dissatisfied in their marriage. Ultimately, on a deeper level, because they picked wrong. You picking wrong has nothing to do with me. That ain't none of my business. However, you're out on the internet, out in the world, spewing your disdain about marriage to non-married people, never been married people, single people who desire to be married, telling them they should be just content with marriage. And so then you have these people walking around, because it's not just me. This is a real issue. There's posts all over the internet about the thing. And then you have these people walking around feeling shame and guilt about the fact that they want to be with someone. Right? That's not fair. Because the person doesn't understand. I do, because I could weed through some BS. They don't understand that you're saying it from a place of hurt and pain, because ultimately at the root of it, you realize you picked wrong. Right? When in reality, it's none of your business. Don't talk about something you don't know about. You don't know what it should be like to be single. You don't know what a single person should be doing, right? That is not your place. Now, what you can talk about are like the things maybe someone should be looking for in a marriage, all of the things. But for you to blatantly tell someone who is in an opposing situation than yours what they should be doing and what they shouldn't be doing, that's out of line. And you're doing people more harm than good, because you're causing them to be conflicted in their desire to want to be with someone. So just don't say nothing. Like, because your sharing of that information is not coming from a helpful place, it's coming from a hurt place. Okay? Let's connect that example. That's just like with the burned out social workers who you work with. They're burned out. They've been in their jobs for 15, 20 years in that same tired case management job. They hate it. They hate it. They hate the job. They hate the people. They hate the files. They hate everybody, right? When the brand new bushy tail social workers come out straight out of social work school, they're happy, they're excited. Who are the first people on the scene, literally to pop their balloon? Like they run up with their pen to pop the air out their balloon, right? And it's not because they're giving them helpful information, it's because they're burnt out. So what it looks like though, when you don't have the context of why they're telling you this thing or why they are giving this type of advice, it looks like helpful information at first, right? Until you get a little, time under your feet, you realize that, oh, they're burned out. They're pessimistic. Oh, okay. This is what really is going on. It's not this, it's them. And so I went on that tangent because I really want y'all to understand what I'm getting ready to say about jobs. Okay. So when it comes to jobs, there is the common practice for people in a place of privilege. And when I talk about privilege right now, just in this context alone, I'm not talking about just race. Right? I'm talking about privilege in the terms of maybe you have a degree, maybe you have a partner where you are in a stable 2-person income generating house, right? Maybe you live in a city with vast access to resources and opportunities, right? Maybe you live, maybe you have access to social capital where you know people in high ranking places where all you have to do is make one phone call to get a job, right? Maybe you have access to resources when it comes to meeting your financial needs. So if you decided right now to walk off of your job, you would be okay financially because all you need to do is make one phone call and someone will support you financially indefinitely. All right. That is the real reality for many people. Okay. When I say privilege, I'm talking about privilege in those contexts because the reality is that is a privilege. Not everyone has that. I'm not shaming you for having it, but I want you to understand that that is not the norm, unfortunately, right? There are people out in the world, people you know, people you work alongside every day who barely, if they have one family member or friend they can call on in a time of need. And even then, that need is very limited. They maybe can give them $50, but if they start talking about they needing $200-$300, no. Right? There are people who you know, who you work with, who are in your profession, who live in rural towns where there's only one employer. That is the local social service agency. There are people you know who don't have social capital. They don't have a network. They don't know anyone who could potentially connect them with someone else, right? That's why it takes a little work to uncover a network. You have to be real savvy. It takes some other things. So I give those examples to say that when you hold a place of privilege, you have to be very careful about the stuff that you say. Right? It's best to just talk about your area. It's best to just talk about your experiences and then let people glean what they want from there. But to talk about it as law is dangerous. So I see a lot of people talking about how oh, you shouldn't be glamorizing work and oh, you should be okay with where you are and ultimately and I don't get into political stuff, but connected to political topics and this and this and this and this. I want people to understand it ain't just me. It's other people on the internet doing wonderful work. Like, I don't support everybody because I don't know of everyone's work. But the people I do follow who are talking about careers and career development and career coaching, there are a lot of people out here who are doing this work because they understand on all levels about how the workforce system is set up and how you have to essentially become a savvy consumer to navigate. And if you don't, the hidden dangers of working low quality, low paying jobs, right? So we get on the internet every day and we are working to educate the masses because the reality is all people, I want to emphasize all people, not just a certain group of people. Let me say many people don't know how to navigate their career. I was just in a national meeting yesterday where it was a release of a report around career readiness. And what they found in their recent research was that adults between the ages of 34 and 36, on average, 54% of adults between the age, and this is out of the entire US workforce, because I had to ask a clarifying question. Is that out of the entire US? 34 to adults between the ages of 34 to 36 years old made 19,000, made less than $19 an hour. Okay. $19 an hour is how much a year? I think when I calculated, it was like 50,000 or something like that. I may be off, but I did that yesterday. $19 an hour, less than. Why is that so important? Like, somebody's like, oh, probably like 50,000. That's a lot of money. The livable wage this organization was like comparing that against was $25 an hour. So if the livable wage goal is $25 and people are making $25 per hour and people are making less than, it wasn't a hard 19, less than 19. The conversation was centered around what needs to be done to ensure that we can get people to at least $25 per hour, right? So again, I'm not making this stuff up. The conversations being had, the recommendations in the report were middle school students need to be exposed to conversations around career exploration, which is research-based, right? Conversations about career exploration as far as what a student can do for a career or what skills and things should they be developing is very important because what it teaches them is all stackable learning. It teaches them, it teaches you. That's why many of y'all don't know how to navigate in your career because you didn't get these conversations, right? It then teaches you, once you get in high school, how to pick what classes you want to take, right? What classes you want to take, also how it helps people, because there's a huge issue where middle school students in their transition to high school drop out. They become completely disengaged. They're not in school. They're not in any type of like government connected activity. They're completely off of the map. They call them opportunity youth. They don't even know where they're at. They just completely leave. It's like they could just walk off the face of the earth, right? That's a whole huge subset of the population, which diminishes the number of people that we're trying to get to the workforce. We're trying to get them to a living wage, right? Okay. So we have to take into account it's a whole group of middle schoolers that we don't even know where they're at. They don't know where they at. It's a ton of initiatives to go find them, to re-engage them. We don't even know. I think based on that report, it was somewhere like 60%, 60% of them don't even go into high school. Okay. But for those who do go into high school, if you would have gotten the conversations in middle school about what skills, what type of, maybe potentially what type of careers you want to go into, when you go into high school, it better positions you to be able to say, okay, oh, I get to choose, and I'm making this up, but I know these are real scenarios. Oh, I get to choose between if I want to take geometry or calculus. Okay, based on the fact that I think, right? It doesn't have to be concrete. Based on the fact that I think I want to do a science related major, I'm going to take calculus because I know calculus is what I need to go into a science major. Geometry is maybe what someone needs who wants to go into a non-science related major. I'm going to take that, right? That's a basic example, but very real example. Okay, so it positions you to get what you need. We all know in high school, the high school is the foundational year, especially if you have aspirations of going to college, of getting the credits you need. So you then can go into college, be it community, a 2-year college, or a 4-year college. You can go in with the prerequisite credits that you need to go in with, and you don't have to go in and take college prep courses. You don't have to be in college prep courses for 2 years. You don't have to pay all of that extra money. You go straight into the course sequence for your program, right? Okay. So that's how that sets you up. So it's all stackable. So high school, you know how to identify what classes you need based on the possible areas of work where you want to go in. Fast forward when you graduate from high school, okay, a whole nother subset. These are issues on the macro level. This is what I work on, right? There's a whole nother subset of students that fall off of the face of the earth. They don't go into college. They're not really sure if they go into employment. Some of them do, but many of them don't. Why? Because what we found, not me, I didn't conduct the research, but I know about the thing, it's because people don't know how to navigate once they get in the job market. Because they didn't get the conversations in middle school. The examples I just gave y'all is like, what should happen? Does it happen? No. That's what people are working to fix. So then what happens is the students graduate from high school, they feel whatever they feel, they come up against all of the hardness. They live in a rural town where there's no jobs. There's only a factory job. And then they have to go and do these other things and these other things, right? Or maybe they don't know how to apply, or maybe they don't have access to internet to go apply for a job, but they don't even know how. You know, it was the community college president on that call yesterday, and she talked about the fact that they see students coming in present day to their college that don't even know how to use keyboards. The students don't even know how to type on keyboards. They only know how to type on their phone. So how do you think that translates when it's time to apply for a job? They don't even know how to type on a computer keyboard. They only know how to type on their phone. You have to know how to type on a keyboard to apply to a job. You have to know how to type on a keyboard to work a job. I wish y'all could see me, but I'm not camera ready. I may release this knowing me because I want y'all to understand that it ain't as simple as many of y'all thinking. Some of y'all macro lens ain't developed enough. It's all connected, right? It ain't as simple as, oh, you should be content with your job. No, you shouldn't. You shouldn't. You should not. Because where you are in reality, you should be 20 steps higher than that, further along than that. But you didn't get the support you needed to be there. So now, unfortunately, you got to work to play catch up. That's why my program is called the Micro to Macro Career Accelerator, to make up for the lost time. Because I realized I had to make up for lost time, that I should have been further along. Right? Okay. So anyway, so the students graduate from high school. It's a whole nother subset that they literally just walk off the face of the earth. They don't know where they are. They're not engaged. They call them opportunity youth. Look it up. Okay. So then you have a small subset that goes into employment. They either go to get a trade. What they captured is that they go into the military, things like that. Then there's a even smaller percentage. I think it was like 26%. They then go into a 2-year college or a 4-year college, okay? How your conversations that you should have got in middle school around career exploration helps you once you graduate is it helps you know how to identify the jobs that you want, the jobs that you have been like planning for, because it was career planning, the jobs you have been planning for since middle school and high school. You know how to identify that. Also in high school, you should have been getting conversations and teachings around how to write a resume, how to interview for a job, how to do all of those things. So when you graduate from high school, you know how to apply for a job, you know how to interview, you know how to find a job, right? Okay, but if you don't get those things when you graduate from high school, you don't know how to do it, which lessens your likelihood to enter the workforce because people then internalize it as something is wrong with them when the truth is, no, you were never taught how to do the thing. Okay, so for those that go on to college, and I know many of y'all can resonate with this. I know because I posted it one time on Instagram and it was an overwhelming number of responses from social workers of all walks of life, all colors, all financial backgrounds, all of the things. Having those conversations in middle school, getting the hands-on, like experiential learning, having maybe job shadowing days, career fair days, all of those things in high school, then positions you once you get into college, day one, to be clear about what major you're going into, what major you're going to focus on, what classes do you need, which prevents you from changing majors 3, 4, 5 times, getting kicked out of majors because you didn't meet the GPA requirements that you were required to maintain, which is a reality for many social workers. Many of y'all ain't in social work because you chose it. And I know this because y'all shared it publicly. Many of y'all are social workers because you didn't make it in the other majors. You didn't make it. Your first choice, your first 5 choices was something else, but you didn't cut it. You didn't make it. So then you had to go to social work. Right. And so because of that, what that happening, that was because you didn't get conversations in middle school. You didn't receive the guidance you were supposed to be receiving in high school to make a sound choice around, okay, based on my skills, abilities, capabilities, interests, all of the things, for me, you made this decision, not your counselor. That's the other thing. Counselors are also, out there with their biases and doing more harm than good. That's a whole nother conversation for another day. But you, based on that, then made the determination of, okay, based on that, I know when I took math, I didn't really do good in math. So I'm not even going, I didn't really like it because I tried it in high school. And I know that I know from my conversations in high school that math is a big component of science. So I'm going to look at other majors that are, and because of my conversation in middle school, I learned in middle school that, science doesn't mean that I have to be calculating formulas and working with the Bunsen burner and all of the things. I can be doing something that's like in that family group, but not as scientific in nature. So then when you get in college, you look at the majors where you're maybe like working on the admin side of a science-based organization or effort, which would maybe look like a business degree or maybe look like an admin, like management type job, right? I'm making this up because every college has different offerings and different tracks, right? So your ability to critically assess what your needs are, being brutally honest with yourself. I know I can't pass math, so I'm not going to sign up for chemistry because chemistry ain't nothing but math, right? It then helps you make better decisions. It helps you become more well-informed. It saves you money because every class you can't pay, that's money. Every class you can't pass, that's money. That stuff ain't free. Even if you got a scholarship, but if you flunk in classes, the scholarship is out of the door. Even if you have financial aid, that's money you're running through in your Pell Grant, which means once you get to the end, or if you decide to go and get a master's or a doctoral degree, you have to pay for that stuff out of pocket because you have run through your free money, right? And if you're paying loans, getting loans, that's money you have to pay back, right? Okay, so You then make better, so you're in college now, you then make better decisions about your majors and about the track that you should take and all of the things. Okay, fast forward. What happens is people graduate college. Oh, let me also note this because I need to be clear that I say this. There is a huge problem on the national level where people start community colleges, 2-year colleges, and they just stop, right? That's a well-known fact. It is hard to get community college students specifically to persist into graduation to degree completion, largely because community college students are working students, full-time working students. Many of them work multiple jobs. What also another, many of them have to stop working due to financial reasons, childcare reasons, all of the things. The community college president yesterday was talking about the fact of how she's had people stop coming to school, drop out over a $50 balance. And I'm like, that's very real. That was my reality. Like, that is a very real reality. So again, there are national organizations working to address that. What needs to be put into place to comprehensively support people in their degree completion? Okay, so I just wanted to mention that a large percentage of people don't even finish community college. So if you were able to finish community college, you better be jumping for joy and thanking God, because that is the hard task, right? But again, when you don't know these things, when you don't understand how, most likely the reason that you're unable to finish community college is because you have a poor quality, low paying job, right? That won't support you either financially, time wise, to dedicate to your degree completion. You then internalize your inability to finish your degree as something being inherently wrong with you. And how do I know that? Because that was me. When I started going to my community college, not because I went straight out of high school, but when I went back as a working adult, I used to internalize my inability to like get through a full semester and go back the next semester to something being wrong with me and that I never finished nothing. No, the reality was I didn't have reliable childcare. I was paying childcare out of pocket. I did not have reliable transportation, all of the things. So because of the way my life was set up, I had to sit down. Yeah, I would love to go, but I gotta sit down, right? Or I wasn't being brutally honest with myself and was trying to take a full load of classes because people around me, people who had a place of privilege, people who were full-time students and didn't have a whole human they were taking care of, was telling me, oh, you should be taking 4 classes a semester. Right? And me not being brutally honest with how my life is set up and the fact that like I don't have a support system. I can't be taking 4 classes a semester. Like that ain't gonna work for me. So when I got brutally honest with myself, I took 1 class a semester. I don't care how wild it looked to nobody else. You know how many people tried to low-key crack jokes on me about taking 1 class a semester? But the minute I started doing what works for me, I started to succeed. I started taking 1 class a semester and continued to do that until I like worked on getting me a better job that will support me in going to college, where this is when I started getting real strategic in my career. I found an employer that will pay for my classes, that will give me a flat schedule, right? These are all of the things. This is all a part of learning how to navigate your career. This is what I teach my career coaching clients because people don't know how to do it. That's why when you're telling people, oh, just be content with what you have, no, you need to be sharing with them tangible strategies and techniques to figure it out, to make it work, not be content. Because what happens is you're telling them, like, that's just the way it is. No, it's not just the way it is. It's not. You don't have enough information to really create a sound plan for yourself. Okay, fast forward, the people graduate from college. Every day I log into my YouTube account for the MSW coach. I am inundated because I'm a career page, right? So my algorithm is set to send me nothing but career related videos. Every time I log in and upload a YouTube video, I am inundated with videos from, I don't know their ages and I've never really watched the video. I just always see the thumbnail. I maybe have watched like there's a huge trend on YouTube where they take these they do like TikTok compilations of people's TikToks. I think that's a job. That the TikToks, and then they review them. So there's this huge trend where I think it's a Gen Z population, right? And it ain't just Gen Z because I've seen all generations. So what they do is they take these videos where people are sharing their experiences about the job market, looking for jobs and all of the things. And so there's and it's ultimately like, I think it's scare tactics. But I don't get real deep into that stuff. But anyway, it's the recurring message is that it's hard to find jobs. There are no jobs. This one video comes up in my feed all the time where the person is talking about careers are dead and all of the different things. But what always catches my eye is that the majority of the videos that I see that come up in my feed, they are all, you can look at them and tell that they are all people who just graduated college. They are all people that just graduated from college. And I never click on them because I already know what the root cause reason is there. It's because you did not learn the effective strategies to know how to navigate your career. So now what you are feeling, what you are experiencing is not a result of there not being jobs, because there are jobs. Jobs hire every day. Yes, there are layoffs happening, but there are more jobs hiring. I don't know. I haven't done a good labor market data pull in a long time, but I know that jobs are hiring. Let me just say it like that. What's happening though is students are graduating from college and they don't know how to navigate their careers. I just told you the community college president said they don't even know how to work a keyboard. They're teaching students, high school graduates, how to type on keyboards, right? So if you came out of high school knowing how to type on the keyboard, you're at a whole different level of advantage. You have privilege. There's a lot of people who are trying to get to that point. So I say that to say that these students are graduating from college and they don't know how to find jobs. They don't know how to identify if they qualify for jobs. It's very common for you to hear people say like, why, which is true. Over credentialing is a thing. Over credentialing is a thing, right? Over credentialing in workforce development is where employers require you to have a master's degree for a job where you really only need a high school diploma. That is a very real thing. However, like thinking we're going to solve that in one day is real unrealistic. However, what the quickest conduit for change, and that's why I focus on individuals on the B2C side of my business, is I can teach you how to navigate that, right? So I say that to say that when people are like, oh, employers are wanting 10 years of experience, and it's because you don't know how to find jobs that don't have those requirements, right? And there's something happening in your job searching techniques and strategies that's leading you to jobs where it's requiring all of these years. Either you're not targeting the right job titles, you're not clear around like what type of roles are comparable for entry level people. There's all of the things because every organization has different naming conventions for job titles, right? So I say that to say when I see those videos all of the time, I'm always like, they didn't get the conversations in middle school. They didn't get the hands-on application and techniques in high school. In college, a large percentage of college students, how could I say this? College, yes, you're going there for education, but for many people, people that have to work, right? Because we know there are some people that don't have to work for a living, which I love that for y'all. But for people who have to work for a living, you're going to college to get a job. So yes, your academic life should be great in college, but in the forefront of all of that should be, I need to be doing everything that I can to get a job when I graduate here. So what happens is, and what I see with college students is that they're graduating from college ill prepared to enter the workforce. They haven't they haven't even begun to look at jobs. I've gotten so many questions in the last 30 days from MSW graduates that's graduating this semester who are like, when should I start looking for a job? I graduated next week. You ain't started. You should have started when you hit apply on your degree application. You are behind the eight ball. You're gonna catch hell. Right. And that's just me being real. You should have started. But what happens is people get so caught up in the I am a student. Being a student is my only job. No, not when your life not set up like that. Unfortunately, like if your life could be set up like that, like if you have it like that, great. Like if you have a home with some parents or some friends and family that you can go to upon graduation and take you a year, a gap year after graduation, that's wonderful. I'm happy for you. But for many people, that's not their reality. So when that is not your reality, you have to be brutally honest with yourself about how your life is set up, and you need to be moving accordingly, which meant that you should have been applying for a job a year ago at minimum. Ideally, you should have started looking, planning the steps for the job you want when you started your degree program. So I want to say, like, you should have a healthy balance. Academics, employment. You can do both at the same time. I know it's not ideal. And I know that would be like glamorizing work. But the reality is, when your life ain't set up that way, or if you didn't go to a fully funded program where you're being paid to go to school, which is ideally what you should have done. But if you didn't do it, you're gonna have to get a job. And everything you do is gonna have to be focused on getting a job. Like, I'm not gonna go down that rabbit hole. I see so many college students volunteering for things and on this and on that. Okay, when are we gonna do a money generating activity? When are we gonna do a money generating activity? You're volunteering for this and you're doing this and you're on this person's research thing. Okay, that's free labor. Let's take that same effort, that same energy. You could be working. All right. Anyway, fast forward. So people come out into the workforce, graduate from high school, graduate from college. They're not knowing how to navigate. They don't know how to target the jobs. They don't know how to apply for the jobs. And quite honestly, many of you don't know how to write a resume to save your life. Right. And so I say that to say this and not to be funny. I've seen people's resumes who literally look like they wrote it on the back of a receipt. You know how when you're sitting in front of the grocery store and you're going in and you're like, I only need to grab 4 things and I'm going to stick to my budget and blah, 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 blah. And so you pull out the old receipt out of your glove compartment or out of the middle console and you write down eggs, ground beef, or let's be meatless, eggs, beyond beef, um, uh, noodles, spaghetti sauce, right? You write on the back of that receipt, you barely can read it. It's just like half thought out, but you wrote it at the last minute so you could go in and ensure that you keep to your list. That's how many of y'all resume is written. And I'm laughing because I was gonna make that a post the other day, but I was like, I don't feel like being on my microphone today. That's how many of y'all write y'all resumes. Like it's no thought put into it, it's no effort put into it, it gives I didn't even try. Right. And I understand not knowing how to do it, but you can at least try. So many of y'all put more effort into your papers for college than you do your resume. Your resume should have the same level of effort put into it or more. Or more. Because you can't give a I didn't even try a resume to an employer and be talking about you want a 6-figure job and your resume look like a elementary schooler wrote a grocery list for their parent on the back of the receipt. You can't do that. That doesn't even make sense. That don't even go together. So I didn't kind of wore down, the energy has kind of passed. But I really wanted to say, like, people are giving y'all wrong information. And the story I wanted to tell earlier was that I know someone who works a job, like I explained to y'all, where they made less than 19,000 a year. The job is super, super labor intensive. They work in a warehouse where there's no heat, there's no air, they're exposed to the elements all day, they're on their feet all day. They actually get penalized if they're ever caught sitting down. They get threatened with termination if they're ever caught sitting down. Because it's supply chain management type work, they are required to walk up and down 2 to 3 flights of stairs anywhere between like 20 to 50 times in a 7-hour shift to pull orders. There's no technology equipment to aid them and like streamline that work. The work is so physically taxing that the cartilage in their ankles has worn down over the years, and they've been there in that job, I think, like going on 8 years. So much so that they're in constant pain. They are constantly at the doctors talking about their feet and the pain that they have, and it comes from their job. This person I have talked until I was literally blue in the face about. You can get a better job. You don't have to stay there. I even went as far as like offered to help them, right? And so to get another job. But the fear of, can I really work another job, was stronger than them being willing to accept the information and help that I was offering them. So I say that to say that's the reality for many of y'all. You may not be working a job where you're walking 2 to 3 flights of stairs, but you're working a job where at the end of the day you have to soak your feet or put an ice pack on the back of your back, or you have to take tons of Tylenol and because your head is just hurting you so bad, or you have to like drown out your pain by smoking. We're just gonna call it smoking or drinking wine or doing things, right, to ease your pain. You may be holistic, so that may look like you know, taking a double dose of your herbs or whatever the thing may be. You might have to regularly go get chiropractic adjustments because your work is taking a toll on your physical body, right? Not just your physical, in your physical body, it could be like your physical body, or it can be the emotion, like the emotional effects are coming through the physical, right? So I say that to say what I originally got on here to say was like, it's not about talking about your career, looking for jobs, all of the things. It's not about glamorizing work. It's about you becoming a more well-informed job seeker and really understanding what job opportunities are out there for you in the world that you can tap into to maximize everything that you need, right? And ultimately shift from working harder to smarter, right? The truth is, many of you who work as case managers, you could easily take the skills that you do in that work and get you a job paying $200,000 a year. But that requires you not to be on call. That requires you to do none of the things. And I'll talk about, and I might have to say this because I think this episode has gotten real long at this point. But we just talking today. I was talking to one of my coaching clients the other day who landed her macro job a few months ago, and she shared it in a podcast episode. I just got to release it. And she talked about like how her physical health has improved tremendously since she left her child welfare job for a macro job. And and the mental and physical things that was going on with her as a direct result of her job. She said she would constantly be sick. That's because that job was low quality. It was low quality. And I think, and don't quote me, I think she would even say consider it as low pay, because she also shares in that episode about how she took money out of her retirement to join my career accelerator, and how that investment like her return on investment has been tremendous. She went from working a job where she was working 20, like on call every weekend. She was essentially doing a job of 10 people. She was under constant stress, under constant scrutiny of her work, to now where she works remotely from the comfort of her home and she makes her own schedule. And she has a great work life. The organizational culture is off the charts and she's making more money. So I say that to say, like, y'all better be careful listening to people telling you to be content with what you have when you know it ain't working for you, because your life may be set up differently than theirs. So I'm gonna talk to y'all later. I gotta do some work, and I didn't. It's like gave y'all all my energy. Now I gotta find it again. Me and my introverted ways. All right, y'all. Talk to you later. Happy macro career planning. Bye.